A potential attempt from the city state's attorney's office, Marilyn Mosby, to silence the media. The complaint her office sent to the FCC about Fox 45's reporting. Deadly violence continues in Baltimore City. 9 people murdered in the past week. The city councilwoman asking for more police in her district and how her request will affect police in parts of the other city. Unemployed workers demanding answers from the state over the unemployment process. Their last-ditch attempt to force the state to take action.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
You are using financial money, taxpayer money, to fight your own personal grievance with a news entity. We are using taxpayer money to try and quiet a First Amendment right of freedom of the press. Where is the ACLU on this?
It's puzzling because Ms. Mosby is often bringing this upon herself. She called for the Inspector General to investigate, then she didn't like the results of the investigation, so she called foul and claimed that they were biased.
Every politician that's ever held office is upset with the news coverage that they get, that they never feel it's fair, they never feel that they're fairly or adequately represented.
Reaction flying in tonight after an explosive accusation against Fox 45 News reputation. State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby's office sends the FCC a complaint aimed at potentially silencing journalists. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Maxine Stryker.
And I'm Kai Jackson. Mosby's communications director, Zy Richardson, sent this letter to the FCC asking the agency to investigate Fox 45 News for coverage of her boss. Richardson accuses Fox 45 News of slanted and distorted coverage of Marilyn Mosby and her office.
City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby is currently facing several legal issues. She and her husband, City Council President Nick Mosby, are currently under a wide-ranging federal investigation. Prosecutors are digging into the Baltimore power couple's financial documents, including tax returns, bank statements, and credit card statements. Investigators are also requesting records related to the couple's private businesses. We know subpoenas have been served to Marilyn Mosby's campaign treasurer, as well as local churches. Investigators believe the Mosbys contributed to. The couple also faces a $45,000 tax lien on their home for unpaid taxes. Court paperwork reveals the IRS placed the lien back in March of last year, and there is no evidence that it has been resolved. Marilyn Mosby was also at the center of a scathing Inspector General report. This after Mosby herself called for the investigation. The report revealed Mosby failed to disclose several trips and gifts. Marilyn Mosby has been in office since 2015. During her time as the city state's attorney, murders in Baltimore have gone from 200 per year to more than 300 per year. The pace has accelerated under her progressive policy of focusing on violent crime while stopping prosecutions of low-level crimes like prostitution and drug possession. If the murder rate continues at its current rate, the city could be on track to hit more than 300 homicides for the 7th year in a row.
We have team coverage of Marilyn Mosby's office trying to potentially silence the media. Mackenzie Frost spoke with some experts today about the importance of having a free press. But we begin with Jeff Abel, who's taking a closer look at the role the media plays in holding leaders accountable. Jeff?
You know, political leaders have long been under the microscope in this city, but now the state's attorney's request to have this station stand down has some people tonight rising up. It's one of the most dangerous cities in the country, where one of the city's top crime fighters is now calling for federal help, not to fight crime, but to fight coverage.
It's a losing battle to fight the press in this manner.
On talk radio today, they were taking aim at this complaint sent to the FCC by State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby's communications director. The letter complains about Fox 45's ongoing coverage of State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby, who's currently the subject of a federal investigation. The letter calls the coverage blatantly slanted, dishonest, misleading, racist, and extremely dangerous, saying it's against the safety of an elected official. Mosby's office asked the FCC to investigate.
By the way, she never mentions that they're inaccurate or that they're not factual. She says they're slanted.
I think it's a dangerous precedent when a government agency seeks to silence and shut down media.
Reverend Al Hathaway knows the frustration media coverage can cause. In fact, 43 years ago, he complained to the FCC about another Baltimore TV station and the makeup of its news staff.
But it was around having persons of color as anchors. But that was around the public good. It was never around personality or performance.
His complaint was resolved after a meeting with station management, but he has always defended the role the media plays.
That's the beauty of media. That's the beauty of a democracy. The opportunity to have give and take, the opportunity to have controversy, the opportunity to have critique, but also the opportunity to present your case. So if you can present your case in an honest way, present that case.
The state's attorney refused requests for interviews today. Hathaway says his organization will help resolve the issue if needed so the city can move on.
If it's necessary for Act Now to help mediate, we're willing to do that. But we think that agencies of government have to respond to the needs of government, not to their own personal goals and aims.
Well, for their part, station managers say they know the reporting is somewhat unpopular, can be, but they stand behind the reporting at the station. We are live tonight. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
All right, Jeff, thank you. Today we gave City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby and her Communications Director, Zy Richardson, an opportunity to sit down for an interview. They refused. We also offered to send over questions and have them send back a written response instead. Richardson sent us the news release about the City State's Attorney's Office filing the FCC complaint.
City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby is also attacking Fox 45 News online. Last night she tweeted, quote, Fox Baltimore's blatantly slanted, dishonest, misleading, racist, and extremely dangerous coverage must come to an end. Last year, they ran 248 stories about me and my office, while WJZ ran 46, WBAL ran 26, and WMAR ran 10 during that year.
Well, we want to continue our team coverage now with Mackenzie Frost. She spoke to some local experts about the importance of free press.
I spoke with 3 different experts today about the complaint filed by Mosby and her team. The general consensus is that it appears the Baltimore City State's Attorney's Office is attempting to intimidate the media and using the federal government to do so. This complaint to the FCC on official City State's Attorney letterhead and signed by Marilyn Mosby's communications director claims Fox 45 News' coverage is, quote, slanted and racist, among other allegations.
What this is, more than anything, in my opinion, is shooting the messenger.
Political analyst John Deedy says just because an elected leader doesn't like the media coverage doesn't mean the news outlet should be silenced.
I've never seen anything in a similar fashion happen like this before, never to the point where someone wants to use an arm of the federal government to silence to attempt to silence a media outlet in some fashion.
The letter asks the FCC to launch an investigation into Fox 45 News. The FCC is barred by law from trying to prevent a broadcast of any point of view. But Richard Vatz, who taught media criticism at Towson University for decades, says that has not stopped the City State's Attorney's Office from trying.
This is one of the clearest, most despicable examples of intimidation that I've seen. It's clearly an abuse of power.
Fox 45 News management issuing a statement saying it understands, quote, that it's not popular with the individuals and institutions upon it is shining a light. Fox 45 News stands by the reporting. Freedom of the press inscribed in the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, a critical part of the Founding Fathers' vision of the country. Maryland Public Policy Institute fellow Sean Kennedy says,
one of the chief causes of the American Revolution was the Zangler case. And the Zangler case was a slander case in British colonial times, the United States, that basically said, what are the rights and prerogatives of the press?
Kennedy, Vatz, and Deedy agree. A free press plays a role.
The watchdog of government. This can be a very dangerous tactic.
Adding, when government tries to quash the right to a free press, everyone loses. Fox 45 News management says so far it has not heard back from the FCC regarding the complaint. In Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
The Media Institute, which is a nonprofit foundation, issued a statement about Mosby's complaint, saying in part this matter is especially Egregious because the television station holds a broadcast license issued by the FCC. It is obvious that freedom of the press would cease to be a reality for local broadcasters if every government official who received coverage perceived as unfavorable exerted a chilling effect on local TV news coverage by calling for an FCC investigation. That could, if even remotely, imperil a station's broadcast license. If you want to read the whole statement, go to our website, foxbaltimore.com.
This is not the first time city leaders have been under investigation. Former Baltimore City Mayor Catherine Pugh is currently in prison over her Healthy Holly book scandal. In 2019, she pled guilty to conspiracy and tax evasion charges and was sentenced to 3 years behind bars. In 2009, a jury convicted former Mayor Sheila Dixon of embezzling gift cards meant for the needy. She entered a plea deal, and under the terms of the agreement, she avoided jail time and retained her pension, but she agreed not to seek office in Baltimore City or the state of Maryland while she was on probation. In March of 2019, former Baltimore Police Commissioner Darrell D'Souza pled guilty to tax evasion and served 10 months in prison. Former Baltimore State Senator Nathaniel Oakes pled guilty to bribery charges in 2018. And last summer, Maryland State Delegate Cheryl Glenn was sentenced to 2 years for bribery and wire fraud.
Fox 45 News is committed to investigating corruption in public officials, asking tough questions, and holding leaders accountable. Our award-winning investigative unit is a key part of delivering that commitment. While we understand that it may not be popular with the individuals and institutions upon which we are shining a light, we stand by our reporting. Our question of the day involves the letter to the FCC. Is it proper for the state's attorney to potentially silence the media from reporting and informing the public? Right now, 98% of you say no. Just go to foxbaltimore.com/vote to let your voice be heard.
Our station's commitment to investigative reporting is leading to some recognition. The Fox 45 News team has just been honored with 4 regional Edward R. Murrow Awards. We've been honored in the category of Spot News for our coverage of a house explosion last August in Baltimore. Our Operation Crime and Justice team was honored for its reporting on a gun store robbery. Our Project Baltimore team won 4 in the categories of investigative and documentary for its reporting on a sex offender being allowed to enroll in Baltimore County schools.